I was part, not a leader, of the CED's health reform effort. We had the only proposal out there that dealt with both access and with market-based cost control. But business was not often there in force, and when it was there, its positions were pretty narrow and pretty self-interested. It was lonely being out there with no support, and it was an opportunity missed. Now that the debt deficit struggle impends, and believe me, this is going to be years, not days or months, CED has a group set up. It's a good group. CED has a long, strong, good record in this area. We have links to everyone in this debate. But without your strong support, believe me, we're shooting blanks. And this is not another opportunity we want to miss. Now, longer run, and forgive me for what seems to be blatant advertising, but I'm a former co-chair and I get to do it. Be more a part of this organization with your brains, with your contacts, with your resources. The CED is the only broad-based business group in America focused on finding achievable, centrist answers to the biggest challenges posed to America's economic future. And as the voice of business has become muted, so has its support. I, with my friend Rod, have sat in the same place that Don and Joe, I don't know where Joe is, and Joe have sat. It can be lonely and it can be frustrating to be told over and over that, well, we appreciate what you do, but policy issues are just not a priority right now. To paraphrase President Reagan, if today's policy issues aren't a priority, and now is not the time, what on earth is a priority, and when on earth is a time? And if we're not part of the solution, who on earth will be? Or you can think about my brother Otis. A very long time ago, I grew up on a farm in southwest Virginia, and I was baling hay. Hay at that point were not the round bales that some of you who have some vague familiarity with farms may see. They were square bales. And what you did is you drove a tractor out and you stacked the square bales on a wagon and you drove them back into the barn. And then you stacked them in the barn. And I was in the midst of doing this and with some helpers, and I drove the tractor in and drove the wagon next to the barn, unhitched the wagon to go hitch the tractor to another wagon, and someone, me, forgot to put the chocks behind the wheels. And I heard this sort of creak. And I looked around, and this wagon, which weighed about 10,000 pounds, the wheels were beginning to turn. And the wagon was beginning to roll down the hill. It's 10,000 pounds. There wasn't anything I was going to do about it. And so I turned to one of the laborers, and I said, what are we going to do? And he said, well, we aren't going to stop the wagon. He said, I think you best call your brother Otis. And I said, I don't have a brother Otis. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, there was this old fella, and he was walking down a country road, and he looked back, and coming running at him was this fellow, and his elbows were akimbo, and he was running as fast as he possibly could, and he was pumping his fists up and down. And the old fellow said, Amos, where are you going? And Amos said, I was just at the railroad tracks. And I looked way down in one direction, and I saw a train coming down the track. And then I looked way down in the other direction, and I saw a train coming on the same track in the other direction. And the old fellow said, well, that's well and good, but why are you running away from the track? And Amos said, I'm going to go find my brother Otis because he ain't never seen a train wreck. So my suggestion would be that if you don't take step one or step two, we should all call our brother Otis. Thank you very much for this award.